Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Along Come Norwich YouTube channel. To quote a footballing scholar, bootlegger, you just knew that was going to happen. Norwich City have lost again. It's now 8 defeats in 10 in the Championship. Time is up for David Wagner. Where do we go from here is the question being asked by most Norwich City fans, myself included. Things are looking really bleak, and Norwich City are at a point now where relegation is on the cards. That's the way things are going. That's the way things feel. I'm not going to push the relegation narrative too hard, but the first thing I want to say is I genuinely, this is the most I've ever believed that Norwich City could get relegated. This kind of apathy that I think the fans, the players seem to have, the whole club seems to have towards the position and the status of Norwich City at the moment, that kind of apathy could really lead to further problems this season. It's really worrying, I think when you're at the game, for me, my reaction at this point isn't visceral anger like it has been for some fans, and that's completely understandable. Within the moment, it's almost hard to not laugh, because if you don't laugh, you'll cry, and the way things are going, especially, when you reflect on it after the game, where you aren't in the heat of the moment, however you react to that. When you're out of the game, when you're driving or walking home, it's a bit like, oh God, this really isn't good at all. Blackburn today, just another team who have come to Carrow Road and very quickly identified Norwich City's weaknesses and exploited them for their own gain without any real effort levels. It's really worrying. I don't understand how Norwich City have gotten to a point where they are this bad. It's not like we're looking at an underperforming squad thinking, if we just tweak this and tweak that, we're fine. It's the playing style needs a reform. We can talk about the club and where it needs to go from here in the form of a podcast, which we have done and we will continue to do. But the game in isolation, the tactical naivety I think David Wagner especially has, really needs to be addressed. And I'll get onto a point about who, not who I want, but why a new head coach would be good, because there are some arguments which I think are fair being made of, well, if you throw a new head coach, they've still got the same set of players. But that's a separate point for later. If we talk about this game then, Jayden Warner started. And I think, to be honest with you, in terms of changes, I think that might have been the only one. I'm not completely sure. I don't really care. Jayden Warner started, and the big thing for me there was I think that was only because Ben Gibson was injured, and that's massively worrying for me in the sense of Shane Duffy played, and you've got Danny Bart on the bench, and my goodness, I really didn't have it on my bingo card for Norwich City this season to be sort of feeling sorry for Danny Bart as a Norwich City player for not getting the minutes. It's such a bizarre concept to me. But here we are. You've got Danny Bart on the bench who, let's not even talk about his qualities as a footballer, because we don't need to. You've got a defensive option there, Shane Duffy, who has been abysmal recently, who really deserves to be dropped. And it's not like he's left-footed, justifying his position in this, you need a left-footed centre-back to play in left centre-back. No, that selection immediately is abysmal. Jayden Warner, for the record, today I thought was okay. Technically, I think he looks a level above Duffy and Gibson already. Maybe even throw Hanley into that. But he was okay. Let's not forget, who and what he is. He's a very young footballer who is absolutely massive, by the way. He's a very young footballer who is a very raw talent, who needs the game time to learn how to be a footballer at this level. Sure, fine. There are better circumstances for Norwich City footballers of his age to come into and to flourish, like Omobamidele had in terms of that first Championship season where he played however many games it was in a row following an injury. I think I'd rather be Omobamidele in those circumstances than Jayden Warner in these ones. But he was decent. In terms of what else I sort of took from the game, I don't really, as I said in the beginning of the video, Blackburn exploited Norwich City's shocking press, absolutely abysmal. I'm trying to remember which goal was which now. The second goal for Blackburn, where Shane Duffy has just leapt out of defence to try and stop the ball. it really isn't out of character for him at this point. He's leapt out of defence, left the back line completely exposed. I mean, the further argument there as well, the midfield was non-existent for Duffy to have to do that, which, it's just a bunch of dominoes falling at once. But he leaps out, leaves the back line exposed, and bang, Blackburn have scored a second. The first goal, just as bad, the press awful. David Wagner acknowledged it in his post-match interview. But it's just really naive from Norwich, and that's coaching, and it's something that has been said quite a lot across Norwich City media at the moment, in that you can sort of feel for David Wagner as much as you want in terms of him being a nice bloke. You can feel bad for him in terms of, I don't know, the quality that he has to put out there. But to have a non-existent midfield and have your centre-backs week after week leaping out of defence to press really poorly, that's tactical, and that is why he has to go. Because at the very least you get a better coach in to do a slightly better job where Norwich can sit 12th as opposed to just outside the relegation zone. But yeah, I'm beating around the bush here. I don't really want to say it, because I think if I was a Norwich fan and I heard someone say this after that performance, if I was a Blackburn fan, sorry, I don't think Blackburn were great. I don't, they were better than Norwich, absolutely, but in terms of the way they were set up and the way they were playing and how they looked defensively, I think they looked a lot like Norwich in the sense of defensively. They were trying their best to let Norwich score at times, is what it felt like. If I was the Blackburn manager, especially like that red card, for example, if I was a Blackburn manager, I'd be furious at how my team defended, but I'd also be feeling really relieved that Norwich City just kept wasting chance after chance. And they had a couple of decent chances within the game. I think Hwang deserves a bit of a mention for actually technically looking quite good. There was a point in the first half where you could clearly see in his mind, he thought, right, I'm just going to do it all myself. Technically, I thought he looked really good with the ball at his feet. Not your typical number 9 in the sense of, back to goal, turn and play the ball. He looked technically really good. The ball stuck close to him. He took players on. There was that really nice flash of skill. I have no idea what the minute was, but in the far corner where he sort of did a little trick and got round his man and just had no one to aim for. I think he was decent today, which proves, again, there are the players there to outperform how they currently are, to get back up to scratch, and what, your definition of performing at the levels they should be is, that's completely up to you to decide. In terms of other things from that performance, that third goal really sums up how much fight Norwich City have, and fight is a very subjective term, but it's something Norwich City really lack. And it's just, I think the thing that sums it up for me perfectly right is how the crowd reacted. Everyone kind of bigged it up as, oh my God, Carrow Road is going to be so toxic today, and I think some of the media tried to today say, oh, things are toxic. I don't think they really were. I mean, there were the odd chance of directed towards Wagner, directed towards Webber. There was the odd chant of what the hell is that, essentially. But I think, apathy is the word that I used earlier. That's what it felt like at Carrow Road. I was sort of sat there with my dad, just a bit like, yeah, we expected it, really. And when that first goal went in, there was just complete silence at Carrow Road. And that was because everyone was one, unsurprised, but two, I didn't really care, because you're looking at a group of players that when they go a goal down, you don't expect them to go and do anything, but also with the way that things have been going, you don't particularly care to try and sort of, get behind them. And it's difficult to say as a fan, because, as a manager or as a sporting director, you'll say, well, you've got to get behind the players, and, it's I scratch your back, you scratch mine, that kind of thing. But at this point, we're just sat there like, I don't really care anymore. And the really concerning part of it is as easy to slip down and get relegated out of this division as it is to climb back up it and challenge for it. And I'm not saying it's easy to get promoted. I'm not being that naive, but the nature of the beast, the nature of the championship is that, as I said, you can fall, as Norwich City have this season, you can sit second in the league for as long as you want. But if you go on a bad spell like Norwich have, you're just outside the relegation zone. And the way things are going, as I keep saying, I don't see a way out of the current situation. The fact that David Wagner has managed to get to a point where he's managing today's game is an absolute disgrace of a decision. again, unsurprising. Norwich City, as we keep saying, are caught in this limbo of on who makes a decision, what should the decision be, all this, all these contributing factors towards, keeping David Wagner in post. And it seems like the lazy option. And the last thing I want to say is he should go. I think he will go. It might be after this video is posted. But I think a new head coach, and the argument has been, well, as I said, if you bring in a new head coach, well, they're dealing with the same players and the same culture at the club, and until Napa is really here for a good few months and gets a chance to start tweaking things to the way he wants them to run, it's just going to be a different body in the same position that David Wagner and Dean Smith were in, and Daniel Farke towards the end of his Norwich City career. But I see that to a certain extent, but also with this squad, and I don't know, it's hard to say the quality it has, the quality it should be playing at, the quality it does possess. I think a new coach will just, get a bit more right off the squad. Who it is, I don't know. It's not my job to sit here and tell you who it should be. But a new head coach, in my opinion, could get Norwich playing better and getting better results. I really don't think that's out of the question. And the way things are going, it seems as if Norwich City are taking the approach of, Wagner is the best man to carry us forward. I don't know. I don't care anymore. I do care. But it's just such a tough pill to swallow. Norwich City are really in a mess at the moment. And they need to get themselves out of it. They need to drag themselves out of it. It's such a tough position to be in. But yeah, before I sit here and probably start crying, I think that's probably everything for this video. It feels nice to sort of just rant a little bit. Everyone's concerns are fair. After the game, it did get a little bit, I don't know, toxic is a bit extreme, but it was fully justified. And I don't, no one was being abused from what I could see or hear anyway. It was just football fans paying a lot of money to watch their team play like that. It's not good enough. It needs changing. For what it's worth, I think it will be changing sometime soon. Fingers crossed. Yeah, that's everything for this video. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. If you want to give it a thumbs up, that'd be appreciated. Subscribe if you fancy it. A big thank you to all those who have watched and commented on the first episode of City Till We Die. I'm sure episode 2 is just around the corner. And until then, I'll see you again very, very soon.